Little button, a smack. Turn that down. Turn that up. Let's just check that. I don't know how you can adjust your bit rate, but it keeps coming up and say I just did a check there and it said bit rate moderate. What the does that actually mean?
Those are words that mean nothing to me. We need Raymond here.
Yeah, mate, Rolly Ray was in bits and pieces the weekend.
Here's what I need to start this show off with.
Let's go.
Raymond's Lipens, known for his impeccable dress, his shirt choice with belt, with matching, the whole thing. He's real put together. But East versus West 10, did he just finish robbing a bank and then he came to the show?
I thought he was going for the milk tray look. I mean, you won't know what that is, but anybody who's watching in the UK will understand what I'm talking about. And it was a little bit man from milk tray. There used to be this advert, and if you look it up, if everybody puts in milk tray adverts or the man from milk tray, all because the lady loves tray. And there used to be this dude, and he'd do silly shit like stand on the edge of a cliff with a friggin' hunting knife in his mouth, dive into the water, leather a great white shark with a hunting knife, climb out. Somehow he kept the chocolates dry. Don't know how. That was more amazing, but somehow he did it. And then he'd take the box of chocolates, put the box of chocolates, and then just bugger off. And the woman had come back into her room on the yacht and go, "Oh my God, who left me these chocolates? It must have been the man from milk tray." And the next time you see him, he's there and he's black, all black. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, that's Ray at weekend.
That's Ray. Like I figured he had diamonds shoved somewhere very uncomfortable. That was the first.
And he quite clearly, had literally sprayed himself unconscious with like aftershave. Like, must have stood there and gone, "Okay, just in case I've not got enough," and literally nailed his ass with like bad. You know, when somebody walks past you and they're 8 feet away and you're still like, dude, not playing games with the aftershave. One of them.
Look, he had to impress Dennis. Okay, he had to impress Dennis. I don't blame him.
The man was seriously, he nuked it when it came to either he's just bought some new aftershave, which is incredibly intense, the most intense aftershave I've ever smelled in my life, or he'd gone for it. One of them things.
Yeah.
Really trying to impress some special young lady at the event was our Aurelius.
Well, let me follow it up with this, and let me just put this out there to start the show, since obviously we're talking about East versus West. 10 of 10. 10 of 10, dial to 10, and if there was an 11, it would have been an 11. Set up.
What about the press conference?
Press conference was okay.
I'm not a fan of the The only thing that I don't like now, honestly, the only thing that I don't like is the press conference. I still think the press conference is missing a trick, and the head-to-head format will be way better. That's just my opinion. I think there's a lot of benefits with that. It's very, very hard. If you were doing the press conference and you did the 3 main event matches, or pick 3 matches where you've got a bit of something to go off. But outside of that, this was amazing.
Oh, man. I mean, let's obviously Devon, Dennis, chef's kiss. Todd Hutchings, continues to prove that he is possibly not from this earth. Just
best he's ever been.
Shocking. I loved Irakli versus Rustam.
Yeah, very much.
Banger match. And like I was telling you before the show, even the matches that were 3-0s were still awesome. Matt Mask versus Lamparelli. That was, unfortunately for Matt, a big loss, but we got to see Matt Mask do stuff that we've never seen Matt Mask do before, right? That was pretty cool.
For the people in the chat, who have we got in? Have we got any people? How many people we got on here? Where can I see my number?
200 people.
200 people. Where can't I see the number? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can't see it, but I can't see the number. So we got 200 people in here. While you're in, guys, please hit that like button. If you don't mind, give us a like, give it a share. We're going to have the White Oak, Paul Lynn, has told myself and Johnny he's coming on tonight, so we will see him on here. I also think we may have some other special guests, including the incredible Acid Georgie Svedkov may come on here tonight as well. So we'll see what happens. And a couple of other people. Mostly, we're uncertain because everybody is completely knackered from the weekend. Because on that last night, let's just say it was pretty intense. Everybody was on a bit of a high after the event, and nobody wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it got pretty serious, and we ended up, not sleeping at all. We've got a few super chats rushing in, so we'll try and knock a couple of those bad boys over in a minute as well. And we'll get into, I want to get people's opinions on what they thought about the show as well. It's really good to hear that John thought it was, and I know you're all very straight on that. You know, you've behind when there's no camera on, you've told me your thoughts on that entirely. So that's really good. Let's look at these super chats first of all and knock a couple of these bad boys over. So Grigor he's in the mother fluffing house, and he's put, hope you had a great time at East versus West, brother. I can tell you what, Grigor, I really did. It was I've said to a couple of people who I spoke to about it. I think with every arm wrestling event that you attend, and I'm sure you guys who are pullers in the chat will appreciate that whenever you go to an event, they're all unique. They've all got their own character. And actually, one of the biggest appeals of the sport of arm wrestling for me is the fact that whenever you go, it's an experience. I mean, you'd have needed to be at the stem cells thing that myself and John just did to appreciate just how much of an experience that was. Because that was another one that was like, you'll take that to your grave for so many. Unbelievable. But that is the fact of the matter. That's what actually happens. All of these things are genuine events. But I can tell you that this event at the weekend was very unique for a lot of reasons. It's the first time I've seen that kind of, what's the right word? There was almost like a sinister edge to it. There was real tension. You don't usually get that at arm wrestling events. You simply don't. But there was that many people who were passionately supporting Devon and passionately supporting Dennis. You could really feel there was an edge around it, you know? You were going up to people, who do you think's going to win? And they weren't like, oh, it's going to be this guy in a nicey way. They were like, who do you think's going to win? And if it's Devon, you, one of them. And if it's Dennis, it was literally people wanted their guy to win those matches. And that wasn't the same with any other match on the card, but that match, it really created serious feeling. And that was totally unique in my eyes. I've never seen that before to that level, ever. So that's what I'd say about that, Krieger. NWUK1, thank you for your super chat, mate. He's put, evening, gents. Absolutely nothing to talk about here tonight. Been relatively quiet in the arm wrestling world recently. Absolutely, mate. That's what I thought. It's frigging ridiculous, isn't it? It really is. And then Devon's Classy Finger, a guy who was at the weekend, was there knocking about. And he's put, the weekend was amazing. Thanks for everything, buddy, and what you do. And what do you think about Todd Hutchins' match? We're going to get on that. I'm going to wait till myself, Paul, and John together to discuss that so we don't end up going over too much too early, mate. But yeah, Devon's, I mean, what can I tell you? Let's say this, it was what I expected it to be. The result was not actually what I expected it to be, but the match itself, exactly as it said. We thought that would be the best match on the card, or it was the match I was most highly or eagerly anticipating. And everybody's going to have their own opinions. For me, I love that match. I thought it was absolute quality. I really did. And it's funny because they've got a few people in the chat here. Joel C. 1975 says, don't know what the press conference of East versus West. Your head-to-head format isn't doing Arm Wars any favors, judging by your low numbers for Arm Wars. And then 20 shit emojis. Thanks for that, Joel. And Q. Okay, Big Loz Official is a guy that we know and we love. And he's put, if you don't know and love, that's Lawrence Shockley right there. Strongman legend of the UK. And
guy.
Agree, the press conference was terrible. No shit emojis. And he's put, and Denis's translator was super boring. Would have been better just getting Ray to translate. The event, however, was fantastic. Arm wrestling is in a great place. There you go.
Welcome.
Now,
good evening, gents.
Now then, just coming into the show, we've got Jason McJaywank with terrible lighting and audio, which is
everything up right now.
Is it really? Well, you know, I'm being the king of technical and all that. I thought I'd join with immaculate visual and audio.
Thanks, pal.
You've done it.
You've definitely. Yeah, you're up. You are absolutely up there. So we've just had another super chat. She's from Trip War 030303. Thank you, brother. He's put, tell us about your comeback, Neil. When and how? Let's go. To be honest, mate, can't really comment yet because as it stands right now, I'm still in the waiting zone. But on that, while I've got you two guys on the phone, so we're now, what are we? When did we go? Is it 2 weeks ago now?
2 weeks, been over 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So 2 weeks since we had the shots, all right? Personally, I haven't felt anything yet, but I did get another shot on Sunday after the show. Oh, we're out there. John, feedback live. Vitacell Biologics.
Yeah.
2 shots did you get in your back?
Yeah, I got 2 shots. I got one on either side of my spine. So for those of you that don't know, I got a very, very messed up spine. And I talked to Dr. Mark about it. I showed him my MRI. It's messed up at multiple levels. He told me, he's like, look, temper your expectations. You're going to need multiple treatments at multiple levels. We're going to do this, see how it goes, and go from there. For the month before we went, I didn't have any cortisone injections because I wanted to go in and just really experience what it was. And I figured after I got back, I would be dying and I would need the injections and I'd need to get all looped up on medications and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And since I've come back, I've not had any injections. I have not had to do any significant anything for my back. I'm on my regular medications, which weren't working very well to start. And I'm waking up with no pain. My average pain is a 2 compared to a 6. So like I'm fingers crossed, I'm tiptoeing. I'm just saying, like, I almost can't believe it. I almost can't believe it. But something is happening. Something is definitely.
But at the moment, very positive feedback.
Very positive. Very positive.
Jake,
So
what's your experience to date, brother? On that, because you had 1 shot in the left elbow.
Yeah, tennis elbow, so the ligaments coming down. I'm sure most of the guys have experienced tennis elbow at some point, but very much a soft tissue arm wrestling complaint. It's not even an injury, really. It's more of a complaint, which I'm sure is very common, very different to what either of you two guys are having shots for. And yeah, for the first week and a half, complete rest, didn't do anything, no change really. And then it wasn't until Sunday night while I was with Devon, while he was having some shots post match, it suddenly dawned on me, hang on a minute, my elbow feels great. Now, bearing in mind I haven't tested it, I haven't done anything with it, but under normal circumstances where I've been getting twanged and ache and all sorts all the time, there's nothing. I had a bit of a test with it today and I got a bit of a twang, but I was trying to lift something up in an angle of greater weight than I'd possibly be able to do before it gave me a twang. So something is happening. Something is happening. Yeah.
Well, from the two of you, from your perspective, both of you, positive results up to now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I would say is, speaking to Dr. Mark, he sort of reinforced that again this weekend. He said, look, guys, Vitacell is what it is. It's an excellent product. We've got massive belief in it. We do think that it's going to get you there. We do think it will resolve your issues with the wrist, but it's not a miracle cure. We can't just do this and damage of the significance that you've got in your wrist is going to be right in that period of time. And to be fair, that's very consistent with what they told me before the treatment. They said, you've got to give it a realistic timescale. And Dr. Mark at that time said, give it 4 to 6 weeks. You should feel that it's easing off a little then, and then go into a gym and see if you can notice any difference. And that's what I'm going to do. So I've done nothing at the moment at all. I haven't noticed anything positive or negative yet, but I'm still extremely hopeful that it does the job, you know. I'm still really feeling positive about it. Just looking what it's done for everyone else that I've talked to. I mean, I was out there with Pavlo Debedeniev, who is awesome. If you don't know of Pavlo, he was out there with us. We were over in Florida. Pavlo is a very, very straight talking bloke, and he was full of admiration and praise for the treatment. We all know what it's done to Devon. Dave Morocco, many of you may not know Dave, but he's a very long-standing pull, a good mate of mine, been in the game for years. He sent me a private message saying that he'd had significant damage in his shoulder, and that a few months later, pain-free, resolved, and he can do everything. So, yeah, I'm really hopeful. I'm really hopeful that it can do a job for me. And obviously, Devon got more shots while we were out there post-match. James did some interviews with Devon actually while he was with Vitacell Biologics. Matt Mask came up at the same time. He was getting a shot there. Also, Engin Terzi is now Universal Soldier. Who is our umbilical cord. Let me tell you now.
Yeah. When he does that next time,
it's what he is. He's a mix between anger and Wharton's jelly. That defines Engin right now. The man is literally being redeveloped as we speak. There was more pricks in him that I'll not go on with that guy.
Yeah, no,
he had a few shots. Let's just say that. And he was feeling very positive about it. He got shots in various areas of his body, and I know that he will train like a man possessed if he's got the capacity to do that. So, yeah, you can expect that Engin will probably be very, very solid going forward, get those injuries free. And if you next see Engin, he looks like 10 years younger, you know why.
Vitacell, baby.
Yeah, Vitacell. Let's have a look. If we had some more super chats rolling a second ago, which I'm going to pick up as well. So, yeah, Trip War, hopefully that answers your question, mate. As soon as I know, I will be letting you guys know. We do have some announcements for tonight as well. So, Devon's Classic Fingers coming with another super chat. Thank you, brother. He's put, Neil, can you tell
just as his next announcement, it's a bit rare, actually.
He's put, can you tell your buddy on the phone that his quality is bad and he should cough? That's what he's put there. Just so you know. Yeah. That's his comment there. But yeah, don't worry about the Vitacell guys. It's gonna get my wrist sorted. I'm utterly sure of it, and I will be back kicking some ass. And I want to say thank you to Dr. Mark, all his advice and conversation at the weekend as well. Top bloke, Dr. Mark. Also, Robbie was out there as well from Vitacell, who is rock strong, incidentally.
Yeah, I have heard that he is mega.
Very, very powerful guy. And he will be arm wrestling very soon. So you get to see just how strong. But speaking to people like Artem Taranenko, and he assures everybody that Robbie is the real deal. And you probably noticed on the shirts over there, it said Body by Robbie, which is something that he's launching. That's going to be imminently available. So you'll be able to get hold of that, guys. NWUK1 with a super chat. Any idea roughly how much a Vitacell treatment is? Can we get it in the UK? I'm just getting over a ruptured lex. I think that maybe leg would hopefully help recovery. Mate, I can certainly inquire about it, but if you contact Vitacell Biologics, you contact Dr. Mark, they will definitely give you that information. And it's well worth it from what I can see. It really does seem to be doing the job for people. So let's have a look. We'll still wait for Paul to come in here. And obviously, I think he has actually taken Devon's Classic Fingers advice and off. off the back of that. It wasn't what I was expecting, but that did happen. Trip Wars just come back in with another comment. How would you announce yourself, Istanbul, Turkey? Let's. Oh, where's that gone? I lost that super chat before it was seen.
How would you announce yourself? Okay. Istanbul, Turkey, and I need no explanation here. I am the X-Arm Wrestling announcer, promoter, expert, Neil the Mother Fluffer. Is that what you would want, Mother Fluffer?
Oh, you know what? I'm not going to be announced at East versus West because I wouldn't be able to pull there for that reason. If I'm pulling there, who the announcing? You know,
lost cause. If you're not doing it, what have you ever had a nickname like other than the Supernatural? Obviously, is that your main nickname? Has there anybody?
Yeah. It started. So my nickname was always UK Natural, and then when I got the cadaver ligaments in my elbow after the joint rebuild, it's sort of a bit of a piss take from the lads. They said that I was using, obviously, effectively, ligaments that were plaited together from a dead person.
Dead guys.
So yeah. I adopted the nickname, or was given the nickname Supernatural by some of my closest mates in the club because I had dead guys' ligaments in my elbow. They thought that was really, really funny. And there we go. And Phil Woody has just put Dr. Mark's Instagram in the chat there, guys. So if you want to go over there, the Stem Cell Doc on Instagram, message Mark. He will give you all the information you need on the VitaCell Biologics stuff, but well worth looking into if you are injured and damaged. It seems to do some really, really, really good things. So let's have a look. So I want to talk about the press conference again for a minute, because there was a couple of comments came up there, and I want to be really clear on this. I'm not knocking the press conference too much. I think that what is important is that you need to try and improve on every element of it, as the White Oak is about to enter the chat, ladies and gentlemen, or the show, I should say. So the press conference is an area at the moment that I think can be improved. And I do think that there's a number of opportunities to get that better and better. Let's just see if Paul can connect there. That should let him in. Yeah, baby.
There he is.
There it is. One for the lead. Instantly, we get more lasses watching this show when Paul Lynn comes in there. Oh, particularly when it's summer and he's got the traps out.
No, it's cold now. Hey, listen, I'm just trying to keep up with Jacked Uncle John, man. If I see one more Jack picture in my Instagram feed, it's making me train harder. Keep him coming, John.
Isn't that a thing as well? Whenever you see him now, he's there like with massive. And hey, I've seen him in real life, and his forearms are big.
Yeah, it's impressive, man. I love it.
Well, you got to get big sometimes.
I love it. That's what the winter time's for. It's bulking season.
Bulk up.
Yeah, he's bulking like a grizzly bear pre-hibernation.
I think I missed the note. I think I just bulked since last winter is what happened. And now I gotta get my shit together a little bit.
Absolutely. So Paul, welcome back on, son.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's been a long, arduous season. So schedule shifted a little bit, but I'm back now.
Talking about you earlier tonight, mate, and we'll get onto that in a little while as well. You are already slated to pull Irakli Zirakashvili.
All task, big test, biggest one yet.
That's yeah, it probably is actually. Stylistically, that's probably a big one. So what would you take at the weekend after watching the man Rustam Babayev back in the mix? That's quite a match, wasn't it?
Oh man, it was an awesome match. Hindsight 2020, but Rustam winning the coin toss and taking a bad side, I was like, so I mean, it was a great match though. It was excellent.
Yeah, without a doubt. Did you expect that outcome?
I had Rustam as a slight favorite. And then when I saw the first round where he couldn't set his hook with the buckle side, I started getting nervous. And then we saw it go back and forth like some matches do with the buckle side.
I was on the plane with him. He's based in the UK now. And that's interesting. I've just had a message. Guys, carry on a moment. I'm just going to silence myself, and we might have another person coming in.
Okay.
Fair enough. What was your favorite match, Paul?
I mean, I really like that one because of the back and forth. But to be honest, the one I was most excited and happy for was Todd Nagplat.
Oh my God.
Like, talk about like the underdog story, and then like just the way it played out. And in that match, you got to see Todd also elected for the Buckle side. And the more I dig into Todd's technique and talk to Todd, the more I realize how he is so underrated for what he does and how meticulous he is at doing what he does.
Here.
Yeah, the guy's an engineer. Like, and I know he was a little triggered by Devon saying best technician versus worst technician. He might have taken that to heart a little bit, but I'm starting to lean towards potentially utilizing some of the stuff that he does. Not necessarily just in training, but the way he answers certain styles. I think he has it spot on. I talked to him about his strap setup and the way he sets. And I talked to him today a little bit about like the round where he was starting with his wrist back and they were tapping his wrist to make it straight. And he was like, I'm allowed to have it back. But like, to me, that's next level stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you can start a match like this and that's where you want to be, you're just different, you know?
I want to start calling him Todd Red Tape Hutchings, because he just, anything you do, he just shuts you down. He shuts Ungerbayev threw everything at him. He was doing some wild stuff. Yeah. And Todd was just like, no, you do just not pass go. You do not pass. This is where it is. You know,
you do not collect $200.
Yeah. I think that's right. I mean, at the end of the day, we did see Kirigali throw in some stuff at him, tried different things. Was impressive. Kirigali was bloody impressive. I particularly loved, I think it was round 2, where he sort of gave his wrist about an inch, just an inch, to get his arm more A-side, and then tried to reverse up and out again. It didn't actually work for him, but what it illustrated was he'll try, you know, he will throw anything at you. He'll try and be inventive. But hats off to Todd, because his adjustments matched Kurigali's. He was making clear adjustments during the match. You know, I was really happy for Todd in that respect, because I actually I had Kirigali picked. I thought Kirigali would sneak it in a battle. You know, and
I think everybody did. I think everybody like who was like setting odds, like Vegas odds. Like, it's one thing about picking a guy or actually like trying to be objective and pick the Vegas odds. You would put Kirigali as the favorite. You know, there's a lot of us rooting hard for Todd, and I don't think anybody expected a 3-0 and a 3-0 where Todd largely wasn't majorly threatened. I mean, there was a couple surges where I thought maybe he was in trouble a little bit, but never. He take the surge and come right back to A-side. So
well, that's the thing. He's so good at those recoveries. It's like you say, you're not sure whether he's in trouble. I think I said to him in the post-match, were you on the ragged edge there or not? And he's a modest guy, he's a humble guy, but you did get the feeling through his eyes that it was like, you know, you really did, without taking anything away from Kirigali. I do think that that match was always going to be won by Todd that day. It was his day, and his adjustments were stellar. I think it was really nice that he got to silence the doubters of whom I was one, and put on a clinic to out-arm wrestle, and he did out-arm wrestle one of the best arm wrestlers, arguably the man regarded as the best active arm wrestler from a technical perspective in the world.
Well, that's like, I mean, you look at what Kirigali has done to some heavier dudes like Michael Todd, like his display in that, you know, in all of his recent matches, really. And then you have this guy that the side pressure, and that like people just want to throw him in that side pressure. Like that's all he has. Like it's so people like maybe that's his main weapon, but he has great back pressure and phenomenal pronation. Like
really does, mate.
And people question his hand and wrist, but like, if you want this position, are you really not? Does that mean that he's really lost hand control, or did he gain the hand control that he wants?
Yeah, what I think he does is he is so happy and so comfortable pulling in an ugly spot, which is incredibly difficult to prevent yourself from being put into. When he's got the combination of style and technique and strength that he has, it's almost impossible to stop him putting you there. And he is so proficient pulling in that position that suddenly he's given himself a massive advantage. And I'd love to go over and learn from the guy. Just go over and learn all the disparate elements that go together to make that move what it is, and see if you could emulate it, because he's brilliant at that. It's almost it's you can't define it. It's Toddzilla style. He's got a number of elements which you can clearly see, but he joins it up and packages it together so well. And when he gets to that position, he'll move to the side, and then forward comes the elbow, exactly as you would in a hook, to gain that advantage. He's doing all the right things, but his fluidity and the opportunity we got to see at weekend for that to be broken down visually was fantastic, because it took somebody of Keir Galley's level that could, number one, give him a test and hold him up for the sufficient period of time in that position so that Todd could do his thing while the cameras were on it. And it was awesome. Yeah. I loved it.
So the question I have is this in fact Todd Hutchings' most marquee win? I mean, when you look at, like, I knew he was going to be like in this best form after how he prepared for John and how, you know, how that went down. But when it comes to that match, there's always going to be people who, well, I wonder where John's really at. It's not the John of his prime and all those. There's still question marks that people would have. Yeah. But now here you have him walking into what most people are calling pound for pound the best arm wrestler on the planet. And to execute a 3-0 victory without ever really being threatened, I mean, is that like that? That's like the Mount Olympus?
Yeah. What do you think, John?
Yeah. I mean, I can't. When I think about Todd now, I don't think of it in terms of things that make sense. I just think of him in things that are Todd Hutchings, and it's a different thing altogether. Like, the dude just is living on a different planet in the best way possible. He has taken arm wrestling, figured it out beyond the 99.9% of us that do it. He's figured it out for him, the way his arms work, the way his muscles work. He knows exactly what to do. And he knows, not only that, he knows how to apply it against anything that's coming at him.
He really does. What interests me about it is, you know, we've seen all these guys evolving, okay? So Devon probably evolved more visually than anyone else in the game over the last 18 months. Or has he? Is Todd right there with him? You know, have we seen a number of these guys that have just changed so immeasurably? And it may be that that's the case, because Todd, I'm very keen to see him on a rematch with someone who we know is an absolute acid threat to him. So you'd have to go Yevgeny Prudnik. Yes, because Yevgeny dealt with him pretty handily, you know?
I'm not betting against Todd in that match.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? It's going to be interesting to see what difference it makes. How far has Todd come? Because I'll tell you what, if he shuts down Yevgeny Prudnik, who do you back against that man at that weight? Really? Who though? Because he's the guy that could end up another champ, isn't he? Because why can't he go up and pull the likes of, I mean, a match I spoke about earlier, Rino Masic, I think that'd be awesome at 115. Maybe Sandris is a great match there. Yoran Sonev would be good there. There's so many matches that make sense for that guy, you know?
Well, I know he's leveled up, but we did see that match early on in East versus West.
Dude, how long is it before it's West versus West Lynn Toddzilla match? It's coming, isn't it?
I gotta get better, man. I don't like that guy right there. And I almost I've tried to like shrug off the comparisons and stuff, like starting at the same age and stuff. But the more that I develop in arm wrestling, the more I'm just gravitated towards what he does. You know, like I just see it as like, for him to be able to do that at that age, starting at that age and winding up to that, you know, there's something in that just can't be ignored. Like, if I'm not looking at him and trying to emulate him a little bit, then I'm an idiot. You know?
I'm deadly serious. If I get the opportunity at one of the shows, I'm gonna grab myself a video camera, not for public, for myself, and I'm gonna Todd go into an area and just say, mate, let's go through what you're doing there, because I love that.
Yep. He's coming down to Maryland and prep for the next East versus West, so we'll get the pool there at Dave Morocco's, and I'm probably gonna travel to him too. We're trying to set up like a Team West practice in Canada as well. So we'll see what happens here in these next couple of months. But I'm going to get with him at a bare minimum one time.
Yeah, it's it's a fascinating style. It's clearly an evolving style, and as John was saying, it's one he's put together so diligently, and he's executing it perfectly, and that was great to see at the weekend, just to see the evidence of that. And it was my favorite match on the card. I know it was a 3-0, but I thought it was absolutely awesome. And when you've got a main event of the magnitude that we saw at weekend, that's saying something, because my God, that was the most emotional, supercharged environment for a match I have ever been in. I was saying to John just before he came on, Paul, it's the first time at an arm wrestling event I've ever experienced. You're walking around the place and you'd go up to a group of lads and say, "Hey, who you got?" And they would come back on who they wanted to win with real venom, with real passion,
Yeah.
It was, you had your Dennis guys and you had your Devon guys, and there was an emotion attached to it. Really, what more than I've ever seen before. Not the case with the other matches, but that match specifically, it had divided the clans for sure. And I don't want to jump the gun on that, so we'll come back to that match, because once we get on it, we'll be on that for the rest of the night, I would imagine. I know the chat will light up with it. So let's just give some love and respect to some of the other standouts. Yeah. From your perspective, guys, who were you particularly impressed with? Because I've got to say, I wanted to talk about Frank Lamparelli and Matt Mas tonight on here as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Love
that
it.
was one for sure. That was
I love that from the standpoint, like, obviously I was rooting for Matt Mask in that one. I really didn't know at the end of the day where it was going to go. But what I always love is to see guys go places that we've never really seen them before. I mean, when was the last time you saw Matt Mask flop wristed, putting his shoulder behind his arm, right? When was the last time you saw that happen?
Yeah, crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was working. It was working.
It was. Do you know what the frustrating thing, if you're a Matt Mask fan, if you're Matt Mask's mum and you watch that one back, you're thinking, Matt, because you know him.
Yeah.
What the are you thinking? Not engaging your arm in that match, because there was so much clear evidence he needed to throw down a Paul Lynn, and he needed to do it 2 rounds quicker. It should have been, right, top roll isn't working. I'm getting out top rolled. I've got to go arm in arm with this guy.
Yeah.
And I know that it's a good thing for Matt when he looks back at that. If he just takes a breath, breaks that match down and what he could have done, it's very clear evidence that sometimes, if you can't find a way to get out, get further in.
Yep.
And for me, it was right there. He's got.
I thought your commentary on it, Neil, was spot on. I was thinking the same thing, with Frank laying back on his triceps so much, being so vertical, allowing for that to be taken with a deeper grip. And I mean, goodness knows, the size and strength of Matt's hand, you would think he'd be able to force a hook anytime he wanted, but he did commit his shoulder.
Speed, mate. And the speed.
Yeah. Yes. But he did. He's a pure top roller. And to see him, I wonder if he's ever been in a match where he was that shoulder committed without his hand.
You know what the interesting thing is, though, Paul? The fact that Frank is the same guy. Frank is also the purest top roller. So if there was a time to do it, that was it. That was the one this weekend. Because if he'd have got arm on arm, he wasn't competing against a guy who's got that game backed up with a ton of hook, and he knows how to pull that diligently, and he's really proficient there. They're pretty much arm wrestling in a mirror. I screwed this up. I had Matt Mas picked. I thought Matt wins that match, Not at a counter. I thought it'd be a difficult ask, but I thought he'd win the match, as I was saying beforehand. But I got that wrong. And I knew in the first setup of the first round, when they slipped, when we got that original slip, I knew Matt was going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because Frank was punching his arm forward, dropping that shoulder, punching up high. And I thought, oh my God, there's no way through that with the top roll.
Yep.
You're just going to land in there every time, And
but
Matt shit out of me with the press.
Wait, like you're talking, when you're committed to that post top roll, you're on the back of when you're on your tricep and you go to hit it, but you get turned. You are no longer in a position to be able to defend. It's not meeting a hooker in the middle. It's meeting a top roller way out of position. That's the beauty of it. And that's why sometimes matches can look one-sided. And I mean, I look at like my match with Rustam, I would take those first 2 rounds back in a heartbeat because it made it look one-sided. But that's me trying to do what I don't do. And just now I'm completely open. And I could have seen that happen too. Because even if the arm strength was close, I'm taking Matt if he's committed and defeats that pronation center table with Frank's arm stretched. But I don't know. I could. That's kind of one I'd like to see run back at some point.
But isn't it cool when you look at that? I mean, if you're Matt, right, and you're thinking, Christ, I'm on a roller coaster here. I'm up, but I'm down. And Matt's acid. Matt's a real arm wrestler. He couldn't give a shit whether he wins or loses. He just wants to show up and pull and get in battles. And I love that about the guy. And he always takes it on the chin like an absolute man. You know, he's class. Everything about the dude I love. I love his attitude. I love his intensity. He's a fantastic, fantastic puller. Super exciting, engaging, charismatic arm wrestler. And when that guy gets rolling, he can set the room on fire.
Yep.
He simply can. He's one of those guys. But when you because of that, you're like invested in Matt. I think most people want Matt to win, don't they? You know, most people want Matt to win. And the good news is that after watching that, I think Matt has got so much growing room. So much growing room, you know?
Yeah, he's a guy I'd like to see on every card, you know?
Oh, he's brilliant.
You can't get enough of the guy.
Yeah.
You know, and then the fact that he, you know, he had a couple losing side matches and then he went to the qualifier series and he went and won it. Like, and I remember like James Reed talking to him and saying like, why are you even in this? You know, you're already East vs. West guy. And he was like, nah, I want to prove myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how a man handles things. He says like, no, I'm going to reaffirm everything that I'm the best.
Yeah. He wants to be worthy. Yeah. And you can't, you know, your hat's got to come off to the lad in that respect. He really is absolute quality. And I think if he starts to analyze that match and just diligently starts to put some layers on it, I think he can go. I think he can go really well. And if you're Frank Lamparelli, wow, what an announcement.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't know, my friend, my name is Frank, and I'm here. I'm in the room. Italy's got another one.
Hermes isn't the only one.
That's it. Yeah. You know, there's more. And yeah, there's more. That's really, really solid. I thought Frank looked really good that weekend. And he's a problem for a lot of guys, you know, in and around that weight, problem for a lot of guys. Let's go over to our ladies matchup for a minute. And by that, I'm talking about the big match there with Egler. And not with all due respect to Fia, I thought Fia had that one in the bag. And yeah, a little bit more experience there. But you guys.
I was surprised Rosa was able to take the first round now.
I was
on the edge of my seat there for a minute. She's such a. I met her when they were doing the qualifier finals. Her and her husband. She's a sweetheart. So is her husband.
Oh, lovely girl, mate.
Yeah, like super she's gonna get better. We're gonna keep seeing her. Yeah, a lot more of her.
That was great that she showed what she does have.
Yes.
You know. Yeah. And Rosa is at the first rung of the ladder. She was super nervous, massive event, you know, and she's pulling an unbelievably seasoned campaigner in Fia Rasic, who's never been off the podium at any event ever and has won 99% of whatever she competes in.
Yeah, she's one of the faces of female arm wrestling.
Without question.
That's getting thrown to the wolves, especially when there's a weight disparity too. So like that can weigh on your conscience. So I'm the bigger person. I should, you know. I thought she performed really, really well on that stage.
Definitely. John, you had something there, mate.
After the round 1 loss, when they had Fia and Mullen in the corner, all I thought was, oh God, they're computing. I could see it. I could see them both. And then they had a little 2-second conversation. And then you saw what happened the rest of the match, right? That is what those Swedish girls can do. They know what to do. They know where to go. They know how to do it. And Fia is, when it comes to that stuff, she's a computer and she can lays
very composed, didn't lose any, you know, not a single was given about the loss. It was over to the corner. It was shake down, reset, back in, put right what was wrong and take control. However, beautifully timed there, John, because with all that said, that the Swedish girls do know every trick in the book, do have the Swedish machine, right? They got it all dialed in, and they got some of the best minds in the game over there. Carol Pettersson's in the corner. Marlene Kleinsmith's in the corner. You know, Vicky's in there. All the big hitters are right there. And they still can't find a strand of rope to throw to the incredibly talented Sarah Bachman, because she is facing some kind of titan. Egler is back.
Yeah. What from Egler's perspective, what a phenom to do what she's doing, because you know we know how strong Sarah is, we know how good Sarah Bachman is, and there was nowhere for her to go. I think she tried multiple different angles, and Egler contained all of them. And I was just, I mean, it was almost hard to watch at a certain point, because you just like, holy shit. Egler.
And what I loved about Sarah's approach to that, John, as well, was I want to say it was like the last round, and Egler didn't really take it all away from her. She sort of sat in a position where, okay, she obviously had a level of confidence where, okay, take some, and let her in there. And Sarah got her spot, went for a little bump, hit a brick wall, and went, oh, wow. Oh, like, oh, shit. We've been there. But who hasn't been there? But when you do, it's kind of cool, isn't it? When somebody's that much and you're like, what? And you know you're good. And somebody does that, you're like, what in the hell is that?
What is that?
Where did that come from? And Egler is a beast. She's refocused. Her hand and wrist were unbelievable. She literally closed out the light.
Yeah, it was
crazy,
phenomenally impressive. So what do you guys think for Egler next? Do we get her versus Gabby?
I mean, I know everybody's gonna go, yeah, Gabby first and then Barbora. Honestly, just because of the whole styles make matches thing, and we've seen Gabby against Barbora before, I'd actually love to see her go straight to Barbora just on the styles make matches thing alone. I really would, because she's got the frame. She's got the structure to potentially give a very different series of threats to Barbora, who is a very, very big girl. Barbara's, if you look at her, I mean, she was walking around the venue this weekend like the champ. She had that champion swag. Chef was puffed out, head held high. I'm the girl, and she is. She's not got an equal right now. But I'd love to see if Egler can cause her any problems, because, with all due respect to Egler, I think she probably was a little bored.
Yeah,
I think she'd won everything quite easily, and you've got to feel sorry for some of these girls that are super dominant. For Gabby, for Sarah, if you're one of those Titan girls, if you're one of the girls that's just cracking people like it's, how do you get motivated? Because the field is so much lower anyway.
It's lonely at the top when you're looking down on everybody. Where's your motivation to train?
Yeah,
everybody can train because they're climbing. You're climbing. You have goals set, and there's rungs on the ladder, and it's easy to stay motivated. Then, how do you stay motivated when you're at the top and there's a gap?
Yeah, if you're Levan Saganashvili,
yeah.
I mean, if you're Dafit Samusha, holy. What about that guy at weekend?
He's awesome, dude.
I'm
so, and what's crazy, a lot of people are watching a lot of East versus West, and like, he's like the least mentioned guy. Kind of, I think probably because of the way he carries himself. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't do a whole lot on doesn't do really anything on social media. But like, I mean, what is that? Is that his sixth defense? Like,
maybe more. He's certainly up there, isn't it? Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, he's the most dominant guy out there.
Yeah.
And he's facing
animals.
People bigger and
absolute field of animals. He's
Crazy.
pulled one after the other. You know, he's pulled Daniel. He's pulled. I mean, if you look at the last 3 or 4 matches out, he's even had that little bit of a banana skin pressure element in there. When the guy's coming in, and the purists know that he's an absolute killer, but the other guys don't know that. And that adds an edge to it. That's that you were talking about a moment ago, Paul, when you're like, well, everybody expects me to win, so I've got to win here, because if I don't, and it can collapse you. It can create a weird dynamic. And still he rises. And even when he gets that early shock, like Tuzuyev gave him an early scare. And he was very, he was fioresic, wasn't he? He was back to the corner. He remonstrated with the referee for 2 minutes and said, I think that was a jump start. He was back to the corner, shook it off, came back.
Yeah, we were watching it, and I was like, oh, he missed the go. Don't worry about it. We're at practice. Everybody's watching. At this point, we're watching on my cell phone, trying to get on the TV. And everybody's like, oh, did he just lose? No, it's fine. Just wait, And then the minute he sunk that hook in there, tight, deep cup. Yeah, it's
done. I mean, how strong is he? That's what, you think to yourself, what's it going to take? I mean, you ran him close. You ran him close, but that's your specialist subject as well. When you get in there, you're obviously got that ridiculous top end drag, and the fact that he can mix that up with you. I know you were lighter at that time, but the fact that he can mix that up with, I wonder who he could mix it up with. Where's the level for him? Is he pulling in terms of strength at a weight class above himself at elite level? And
in my opinion, he's more of a 90, 95 level inside power. Like you have to pull him, correctly. If you I couldn't drop into a wrist to wrist slow hook with him. It had to be back pressure added, threaten the pinky. It wasn't just dive right in. That's not the answer. Like, I don't think there's anybody at 85 that can just dive right in with him, let him lock in. And
here's a question for you, Paul. Right, and you've pulled both these guys. How big is the gulf between somebody like a Dafit Samoshyan now and Rustam?
I don't know, because I can only imagine that David has gotten stronger. So I mean, like Sasho, Rustam, David, like if we're all in a 90 kilogram class, I think that's a really hard to pick at 90 kgs. I don't know, and it's speculation, because I haven't grabbed David right arm since we pulled, and that was way back when he was just getting started. Like that was his first match. So I can only imagine that he's better now. And then seeing what he did to Craig, that was the eye opener for me, because I know how it is when Craig hits his lane. Like, it's very, very hard to stop. You don't just sink in. He sunk in there and stopped Craig in Craig's lane. There was no like back pressure additive or anything like that I noticed, and he stopped that. To me, that was like,
somebody I'd love to see him pull? RVJ.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because RVJ has arm strength, real, genuine arm strength, but has real hand and wrist strength, real.
I think that would be Rob's match to lose if he came in a good mind frame. Like, he has all the tools to be able to pull David the way that's needed to beat him. I would favor Rob, and I would it could if Rob had no slip ups and executed. I think I rate Rob incredibly highly.
I do, mate. When Rob's on, when Rob is in the right place.
Yeah, even against Zurab, when Rob pulled Zurab, he showed that he was right there.
Oh yeah,
I would think he would maybe be able to keep the beat flat and add a little bit of back pressure and pronation, and that match would get interesting.
Yeah, I'm very keen to see, without trying to get David hurt, because that is one lovely, humble dude as well, isn't it?
Oh,
my God,
he's awesome. He's
what
awesome.
a lovely guy. But there is a thirst within. Whenever you're watching something like that, there is a thirst to see, okay, where's this guy top out?
Yeah.
Where's this guy top out? Where's the ceiling? Who do we have to bring in? And stylistically, where is he suited? Is it somebody like Sasho, who's not the quickest arm wrestler in the world, and he's gonna go happily to that spot? I believe Sasho beats him. But
that's the one. That's really the one I want to see, because that's where the catch weight is not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like if Sasho, I'm assuming Sasho is probably around 90 kilograms against John.
And can get down lower. You know, we've
Yeah.
seen him pull lower. So 90 is not that big an ask.
And Devit cuts to get to 85. He's cutting from 90, 91, you know.
Yeah.
Like they could probably walk in and meet. And I think that's a really cool match.
So James, for a guy like you who's coming into the game, do you feel like that's something the fans would want to see? Do you feel they'll look at that match and think, yeah, that will be interesting, Sasho and Daffit?
So, why wouldn't you want to see it? I know it's another East vs East match, but it's a hell of a match. I've never met anybody. I've met a lot of arm wrestlers. I've never met anybody so out of proportion when it comes to arm versus body length as Samusha. It is ridiculous. He doesn't have
like
the
ape
arm.
index.
Yeah. He's literally, his arms are literally down to his knees.
Oh yeah, he could clip his toes, stood up.
Yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, both guys keep going out and performing. And yeah, how do you see it going?
I mean, I'd have Sasho.
Yeah.
The
weight, just too much.
I'd have Sasho. Just too much power. But what it would do is it would be the acid test for, you know, with somebody who's just got that much raw grunt that you'd get to see exactly where Daffit topped out.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fast match. And I think that would be a cool one at a 98 catch weight. Like, obviously there's, you know, Sasho, you know, there's other plans for Sasho coming up. But like, let's say Sasho retains that 95 and Beat retains the 85. That would be a cool 90 catch weight with no belt, just to kind of see. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's kind of interesting. Like, everybody wants to see the belt matches and everything, but what about seeing two guys go at it, you know, without a belt on the line, just to say, hey, you know, I don't know. I think
Dominic's got nothing to lose in that match, has he?
Right.
I'm going to throw another one at you, because speaking to, you know, let's talk about rite of passage matches, like that legacy match that everybody wants to do, right? So I'm speaking to John the other day. Myself and James were in the cab going back with John to the airport, and I said to him, "Oh, you're gonna go back up?" And he said, "I don't know, I'll maybe stay down at this weight." So let's say John Brezink stays below 95, right? What about that? Does John Brezink and David Samusha make any sense?
Oh,
people want to see that. Does David Samusha get that legacy opportunity to just see if he could shut down that hand and wrist?
I think it's a really cool match because of what John brings. Like that whole, like, all right, now we're seeing him at like 240 and 235, and now he's down to 209. And like, where does that fall in? I think it's really cool. That said, though, I think that John is, like, when you talk about like Rob and the components and stuff, I think that would be a big ask for Samusha to be able to get his hook against John.
I do.
I think it would be very tough.
But what if Samusha can, you know, come up and just come up a little bit away? Because I don't want to see John any lighter. I don't want to see John any lighter than we've seen him this weekend. No.
95 catch. Yeah.
95 catch. And Samusha, I don't know how far David cuts.
He does. I mean, I think he's, I mean, somebody will correct me. I don't know. I'm not on the guy's morning scale or anything, but I know he cuts a decent amount to get to 85. We're probably talking about like a 6-7 kilogram cut over time. So I think, you know, the guy likes food, you know what I mean? He doesn't like the cut. I think he would probably be up for, you know, a 90, like a 95 catch where he walks in at whatever he weighs, maybe 92.
Yeah, I mean, especially against an absolute legend.
If he doesn't like food at all, he can just come hang out with me for like a couple of days, and I will corrupt the card of him. Well, before you know it, he'll be at a Chinese buffet. He'll be loving life. He'll have back tits, and he'll be up a weight. Also,
Hey,
he's
I-
awesome too. We close that bar out every time we're there together.
do you
listen.
know this man's not had bread for 2 weeks? At
No,
least 2
bread.
weeks.
Keep it
Who?
real. Mate,
Who?
I'm off it, mate.
Neil.
Yeah,
Oh, you want to do them?
off it.
Okay.
I'm off
I
it.
like it.
Yeah, It's
I'm gonna do it
it's
too.
difficult, but I'm hanging in there. So I
Bread's
love
good.
it when somebody in the chat who's a true fix fan is really, really on the game.
Cat's
Observation.
arsehole.
And that man tonight is King Hoddle, and he's put almost had another cat's arsehole there. Absolutely. It's like rediscovering the origins of the fix. We've got Paul Lim back in the house, and we nearly had some cat's arsehole for you. That's the, don't ever say that we don't make the effort. Jesus' arsehole was nearly there. That's
Oh, yeah, and Devon's classy finger, fuck off.
yeah. So we had a couple of super chats come in. Let's just knock these over real quick. Let's have a look. So Paul Maiden's larger third leg with a super chat, $4.99. Thanks, brother. He's put awesome to see Tynoff back on stage. Also, who to throw at Ivan Matyashenko now, mate? Brilliantly timed because we're going there next. The Russians are killers, and good luck to Paul fending off the young Georgian. Yeah, obviously Paul got that big match that Engin was talking about the other day against Irakli Zirakashvili. For those of you who don't know, our very own White Oak is going in to do this thing. Irakli's next stop. Interesting matchup. Clash of styles, big time. And we'll get Paul's thoughts on that in a bit more detail in a moment. Agent of Chaos. Hutchins girl dodged his kiss twice after his win. Didn't see that at all. Didn't see that, but I know she got lifted up. That I did see. No doubt about it. But yeah, Hutchins, my God, he was buzzing after that win, wasn't he? That meant a lot to him.
Yeah, bumped into him in the bar, and yeah, he was already 2 beers in, and I don't think he was ready for stopping anytime soon.
No, I wish he was there.
Could have been worse. Paul's missus could have been there. Bottles of
Bottle of vodka.
The bag. Boom. Oh, incidentally, if she goes out again, keep her away from Donny Dries because you don't mind a bottle of vodka as Don. Tell you what, should have seen that at weekend. He was getting frisky. Absolutely unreal. Let's have a look here. So, I think that's caught up on that. So let's.
Oh, can I cover something a little bit back?
Yeah, go.
Off the air? Matt Mask and Bortolado. Jack Jesus. What's thoughts on that?
I've got Matt.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right arm.
Right-handed, I've got Matt. Obviously, no chance left-handed for Matt. But right-handed, I go with Matt. Just because I think he does well against guys that are going to chase him and try and impose their will on him in that way, from that angle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because Wagner, every time I see him, seems bigger.
Yeah. Dude, he's crazy.
He's massive.
He's a monster.
Massive.
A monster.
Massive.
God forbid he was to steal around. If he stole around in there, he would go ape shit.
Oh my God!
Could you imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like with them too?
Yeah.
Incredible.
You wouldn't want to be one of those VIP fans. I was on with Artem, Travis, and Engin earlier on. Can you imagine when he goes ape shit and starts flinging 60-kilo VIPs 20 rows back? Yeah,
I'm the waiver.
Flips off and goes Donkey Kong on your ass. Starts throwing people all over the show. I tell you, that's. But yeah, I've got Mask. I've got Mask match. But we shall see. So let's talk about Ivan Matyashenko. Oh my God, that man is a problem.
Ivan. So that match was my lock. That's the one match where I'm like, Ivan is winning this no matter what. But that first round, that may have been the fastest flash pin I have ever seen in my entire life. Slow motion did not help.
That man is a problem. Wow.
Scary.
Yeah, genuinely. Like, he's a friggin' assassin. Who do you put against him? Who beats him right now?
That's what weight was that? That was a catch, right?
That wasn't it 115? I thought it was a 115 class.
Yeah, he's in the 115, but Yablonski is not 115.
He's heavy.
He's 115.
Yeah, I know. Put it this way: I know Ivan Matyashenko can be 115, and
I'd like to see Dedican.
Tarikian, interesting. I think he beats Tarikian though.
I think he might too.
Right-handed.
That's just the
Yeah.
first thing that came to my mind.
I know. David Tarikian's been really solid recently, but that just looks like a whole different level of frightening. I quite like Yevgeny Prudnik.
Yeah.
That opportunity because of the speed and the fact that he can hang on so hard when it does go there, and he's got so many options. Again, maybe I'd like to see Rino Masic. Go in there and give it a shot, but I do think I think Matyashenko's problem, mate. I think that's an interesting for a lot of guys.
From the arm wrestler perspective, when you look at what Ivan is doing and what he did to Camille, what is your first inclination as to how to stop that?
Well, he incorporates a lot of what I love, John. He's the bone line predator. Myself and Ivan have spoken about it many, many times, and we're both firm believers in that style of arm wrestling. He does it differently. He is a very, very efficient bone line arm wrestler. He just blasts you off your bone line. The positioning of his hand and wrist, in the manner in which he joins that movement up, the fluidity. In the third round, the fluidity of because it was slower in the third round. In the first round, it was same suit warmed over, but at that much speed, you couldn't see it. The cameras couldn't see it. The people at home are not going to get anything from that because they can't see what they just saw. But the third round, you could see it, the minutiae was broken down. It was there, it is, recreated, super smooth, super slow, but perfect, diligent, against a dangerous guy. And Kamil Jablonski is no bum.
Yeah, he's scary.
He's
the way
strong
he
as
commits,
hell.
how fast he commits.
Yeah, he jumps on you with that shoulder. He's rock strong and was unable to find his position. And that's not a reflection on Jablonski. It's a reflection on how devastatingly efficient Ivan Matyashenko really is. He's an absolute professional. Absolute professional. Dangerous,
super strong human being. I always have appreciation for I started following him on some of the social media platforms. How physically strong he is. He's total body strong. And I always, maybe because I do it, but I kind of gravitate toward those people who still have that traditional strength as well, and then can execute on the table with it.
It's always this trade-off, isn't it, around guys like that. We were just talking about it with Dafit Samusha, but you kind of want to see again. You want to see that it's not that you want to see him lose. You don't want to see him lose, but you want to see where's that ceiling, where's the test. And for me, I think even throwing him with some of the bigger guys, maybe it's a Georgi Zeranov.
Yeah,
can you fathom that match?
That's a good one, because Georgi seems to always find his stop in his winning lane inside after trying other things. We've seen that several times now.
Yeah.
So,
and it's it's obviously that's a massive man, but it's not. It wouldn't surprise me if Matyashenko could do the same with him.
Yeah,
wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. I think Matyashenko is a problem for a lot of guys. So. Yeah, I can't speak highly enough about Ivan Matyashenko at the weekend. I thought he was ridiculously efficient, ridiculously impressive. And he's another one who is so efficient, it's difficult for you to just throw matches in there left, right, and centre. Because, do so at your peril, because that guy is just stupid. And I think he literally runs over 90% of people. He's kind of like one of those guys who's so good at it, though. It's like getting up for a Mike Tyson fight, isn't it? You get up at 3 a.m. and you're back in at 5 past after having a coffee. He's just there he goes. He smashed somebody, but it was so impressive. You're not pissed off. Yeah, like fucking hell. What do you want me to say? Frightening.
How are you going to explain round one to your buddy that didn't see it? Well, what did it look like? I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, as it happened, I didn't see it. I was just supposed to say, did he get stopped at any point?
No, oh my God.
No. Round 1, 2, 3. Did they
no, I mean, you can say that in the in some of the rounds when Camille was trying to throw everything he possibly could at him and drop the wrist and get underneath to get to the strap. That there was some stop moments there, but it wasn't really. It was that Ivan Matyushenko was just, yeah, let's get where I need to be, and then I'll smack you. There was no resistance. There was never in threat. Never threatened at any point.
I think even he took a significant amount off after the first round.
I think so.
Like, you could tell. You could tell.
Yeah.
You could see his body posture. Everything changed after round one.
Massive relax, wasn't there? He just, it was just like, yeah, done.
Yeah.
Absolutely, complete animal, mate.
Yeah.
Complete and absolute monster. That guy, he really is.
What about Georgi Svetkov?
Oh,
that was like my second favorite match to Hutchings.
Listen, before this is one of those things we got to talk about, right? You always, within arm wrestling, I think, I want to say sometimes there is, I'm not pointing to anyone in particular. In fact, yeah, I am. I'm going to say that Pradeep is largely responsible for things like this, and some other people, may agree or disagree. But Pradeep does a great job in arm wrestling news with keeping the hype and the buzz, and I get that. But there's also a set of criteria that you have to sort of appreciate a little bit, and sometimes it's lacked. And what I mean by that is when the whole Zaur Pauzelayev train got coming, everybody's saying, okay, and this wasn't solely attached to Pradeep. Pradeep was just one of the guys that happened to have massive belief in that individual. They thought he could come in and potentially crack Levan. Now, I do think that it's easy these days to become guilty of thinking, oh, one result, right, this guy, two result, oh, God, he can't be beat. And which is ironic, seeing as I've just been talking about how good I think Matyushenko is. But I think it's more around what are the measuring blocks. And ironically, I respect about Pradeep that he goes and he tries to seek out those answers. He tries to piece things up. But I think he arrives at his own truth and sells that in very hard, regardless of whether it's based on real fact. I remember I was watching his show the other day. I tuned into it for a moment while I was in the car. And one of the things he said on there was, top arm wrestlers will tell you that the practice table doesn't matter, but we should ignore them. Was the statement. But we should ignore them. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, mate, you were doing so well. But that is not the case. You shouldn't ignore them, because that's the reason that the top arm wrestlers tell you that is because it's true. Simple.
We've gone back and forth. He and I have gone back and forth on like DMs about that. There's too many variables. And I get it. A lot of people want to see those practice pulls, but you're not doing the same stuff when you're practicing that you're doing in setup.
No.
Like you're not.
The variables are vast.
And people have different agendas at practice too. Different pullers have different agendas. There's always variables. It's very misleading at times.
Yeah.
And it makes it tricky for people to train when cameras are around, when they're trying to, you're trying to get better, you're trying to test this, or you're trying to work on this, and the people are recording it and there's no context. So yeah, I agree with that. And I think you're right. I think he definitely got on this hour bandwagon, but I don't disagree with him. I think Zaur's I think he's mega. I just think that came down to like most of these things do, like styles make matches, right? Like Georgi's a guy who doesn't lose his wrist. He doesn't lose.
Yeah, what I would say though, mate, I do disagree with it a lot, and I actually think that Zaur is supremely honest. At the press, I was very impressed with his honesty, and I was very impressed with his reality. When we were at the press conference and talking to Zaur, he's a lovely guy. He was in no way projecting himself as anything special. And he was saying, look, a lot of the questions surrounding me, I'm here to find out because I don't know.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? And I thought that was really humble, really honest, and cool as fuck.
You know what's cool about him too? He's always ready to step up and do that.
Correct.
Even on a minute's notice. Like he was the first guy to say, I'll pull Hermes if Gary can't make it. I'll do it on a 2-day notice.
And what can you not like about that? I mean, if you Zaur Pauzelayev deserves massive respect for a number of reasons. Just on the points that I was talking about, when you've been in the game for a very long period of time, you draw these parallels and you make decisions based upon a body of evidence that is in front of you. Now, we do know that Zaur had pulled and lost at the WAF World Championships. He's not a new competitor. He's been there for a long period of time. He's accelerated his wins. He's very well suited. He's massively strong and he's very well suited to main draw tournament. But what was evidenced at weekend was that if that lane is closed down, it's the only lane right now. Right now, it is the only lane. And that was very clear. There was no attempt to do anything different, and there was nothing different there for him. You know,
I saw the way I saw that match unfold, watching the first round and the first setup, where I saw Zaur's knuckle dropped a little bit and Georgie's posted. And I was like, oh no, it's over. And then we got the restart, and we saw Zaur come up a little bit more with Georgie, and Georgie still take the top. And I was like, now it's definitely over. You know what I mean?
And the other thing was, mate, I don't know whether you felt the same, but I and we might get Acid G on in a minute. But what I will say is this: he's driving home right now, and I spoke to him. He called earlier, so that was him on the phone. He said he's going to try and drop on the show if he's home in time. But he backed off.
Yeah.
He eased off. It was a Matyashenko thing. He you know when you know,
yeah,
and he knew. So he likes Zaur, and he backed off a little. It was easy, and that's not a, you know, there's no stones being cast there. Or as I say, I'm a massive Zaur fan. Again, I think Zaur's got great deal of potential to grow, but right now, the questions that were answered for him, if I'd been Zaur and I'd been pulling that, I think to myself, you know what? Hey, and I'm going to have to go through this, because if I do start coming back and pulling again, I'll get run over for a long period of time, because I'm 50 years old and I'm not the guy I used to be. So I'm thoroughly expecting to have a shitload of boots broken off in my ass. But that's what I'm going to have to do to have any chance of getting back to somewhere where I might get to a decent level. Because anybody who thinks you can come into this game and not get leathered, when you're not arm wrestling, particularly someone who arm wrestling in the style I did, you will drop off. Ring rust is a thing. Table rust is a thing. And that it will take that adjustment. The timing will need to come back. And I've said this many times, and I'll say it again: supermatch arm wrestling and main draw arm wrestling are different sports.
Yeah,
they are a different sport. Okay, it's like BMX racing and bike road racing. They are different games, and they are contested in different manners with a different strategy and a different mindset. And Zaur Pauzelayev is a very, very, very dangerous tournament arm wrestler. But right now, he would need to adjust a great deal to make himself have that same level of proficiency in a super match format against the elite elites, which is, he clearly is at that level. I mean, we're talking about a man who has run over Silayev, run over Laletin. You run over Laletin anywhere. I don't care whether you run over Laletin and you're in a van and he's on a skateboard. You're a bad mother. You know, that's an hombre right there. I mean, that is someone you get up close and personal with Vitaly Laletin, you realize how big that man is. He is bigger than you think. He's one of those guys that's so tall, he belies the size of his forearms and hands. He's a massive individual. So if you can do anything with him when your leverage is significantly worse, which ours is, then that shows the level of proficiency you've got in that move. What you need to do is have another one. Because can you imagine Zaur Pauzelayev against Saganashvili? At the time when Zaur had been winning the AMC, the hype and the buzz and all of that. And as I say, it's unfair of me to lay that just at Pradeep's door. His notoriety and growth and the amount of work that he's doing in the game is why I'm doing that, because he's been very successful. But there are a lot of others that willingly jumped onto that bandwagon. And I personally took a lot of shit for saying not convinced right now, because we don't know enough about him. I'm not saying that he is or he isn't, but we certainly don't know enough about him. He would have had to change a great deal. And That's what I believed at the time. It's what I said at the time, and I stand by it now. And I think in a lot of instances, you can see a guy have an amazing outing, and if you make a load of assessments based on that, you're perhaps going a little early. You know, it's vinegar strokes too early, in my opinion.
Do you think similar vinegar strokes were made with people like Bacho and stuff?
Sorry, mate. Say again.
Do you think similar strokes were made with Bacho?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think definitely, and we don't know is the answer. You know, I mean, Bacho is 18; he's a baby, so Bacho's potential is undeniable. But we did see that he lost a match, very tightly contested match against one of his countrymen that 99.9% of people in the chat won't have ever heard of, and yet he's another one of what we were talking about. He's one of the nameless, faceless monsters that roll around this sport. And in every country, there are... Dude, listen, if you walk around after the show at East versus West, all right?
Yeah.
If you go to the WAF, and Paul knows what I'm going to say, but if you go to the WAF World Championships and you roll onto those practice tables, I guarantee there'll be some mother in a gilet and a pair of jeans that got dressed and showered and has been for 5 beers at 3 p.m. because he got smacked in round 2. And you'll get on the practice table with him and he will pull you out your fucking socks because he's an absolute monster. And he's from some obscure country, like, you know, and it'll go like, you know, my name's Dave from Omsk. And he's fucking mega. And you're like, who the is Dave from Omsk? And all the other dudes from Omsk will come up and go, oh, he's a beast, isn't he? And it's just that he got smacked. He got smacked that day, but that doesn't mean that he's not an animal. And Engin talked about it at the press conference, and we speak about it all the time. There's tons of these guys, and more will come. There's guys in Latvia that you have never heard of, never seen. And if you go and pull them, in Bulgaria, they grow on trees. Off my soapbox for a minute, but I'm telling you the truth. In Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, shit the bed.
Yeah.
Tons of them. How many guys knew a lot about Tsuzuyev before the weekend, apart from the hardcore who were watching the WAF and saw that he got probably duped out of the world gold this year and won the gold in 2022? But nobody's telling me that Tsuzuyev was one of those guys that was, you know, on the cusp of everybody's lips, and he was a household name. I think he will be in 5 years, but he wasn't now. And
it's because a lot of the Supermatch fans find that tournament match, WF, just too long, too boring to watch. Personally, I love it, but so there's a lot of them guys,
tons of them, and it frustrates Engin, who's the purest of the pure. I mean, Engin, you know, he'll watch arm wrestling when everybody else has fallen asleep, and he'll still be there with a semi on in round 3. You know, he absolutely friggin' loves it. He will watch it till the cows come home. But what pisses him off is that he's familiar with all these guys. He knows, and he also can see, oh, God, that guy is a beast. And he, like you say, he didn't, but maybe he's an absolute beast that's one-dimensional. Maybe he's Zaur Pauzelayev, but he ran into a guy that shut that move down that day. But in Engin's mind, in my mind, I'm spotting some of these guys. Engin's spotting some of these guys and thinking, yeah, but you put that guy into that match. You put Frank Lamparelli against this guy that you all know. You'll see that Frank Lamparelli is really good at that. But when was Frank Lamparelli's last WAF Worlds win?
I don't know.
Well, there you go. Go and do your research. I do know, but I'll tell you this. You know, if you look at it, you might not think Frank Lamparelli's that much of a bad dude, but he's a bad dude.
Yeah.
And that's what this thing comes down to. There are a lot of very, very talented. How many guys in North America knocking around, Paul and John, that you know are friggin' fierce?
Yeah.
Beasts.
Yeah, I know them. I know the guys in the Northeast. Like, I know the sleepers, you know? So, like, when the tournament comes and somebody comes from a different part of their country, I'm like, this is gonna get weird. Do I warn them or don't I warn them? You know what I mean? Like, do we want to let it play out or do we want to give them a heads up? We have a contingency of Georgians that have moved to the Northeast, and I tell you, there are a couple dudes that are weirdos. There's another guy by the name of Lamont. He'll probably do the qualifier series here, and he is a weirdo.
So I've just had Dengin Terrat in the chat, and he's put, "What on earth is Neil going on about, mate?" What I'm going on about is this: there are more great arm wrestlers out there than you currently know of.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's I would say.
Just a thought. Go on, sorry, John.
I was just going to say it's hard enough to conceive of the multitude of levels of arm wrestling and the amount of people in those levels when you're in it. If you're not in it, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Just a thought branch out potentially to Zawa. What are the chances are that he does have other very strong lanes, but he's up against Georgi Svetkov, who is just going, no, we are top rolling today, mother fluffer. And that was that.
High, James. Unbelievably high. I mean, just if you look at the two guys that he got wins against, and there were more, but the two guys that he got wins against, and as I say, there were many, many more unbelievable pullers in that class. But let's take two of them, Silaev and Laletin. All right. Just if you look at those guys' physical makeup and what they can do well, that tells you alone that he is really, really hard to deal with. I'm not knocking Zawa Pauzelaev's level.
No, I didn't think it was.
Weapon. But the good news for Zawa is that, again, he's got a lot of layers that he can bolt onto what he's doing now. And I think he's the type of dude that he'll be going home on the plane thinking, okay, I've got a problem there. There's a few holes in my game. I'm not the guy I thought I was. I can do better. Because I think he came to find that out.
Well, he said that, didn't he, in the press conference? He said.
And afterwards, did he look down? Did he look pissed off? He did. He looked to me like he was like, assessing it, weighing it up. And I love that attitude about the guy. I love, like Paul said, the fact that he showed up and put it all on the line. And has done before. Good on you. You know, that was really, really good. And he takes a man to do that. It takes somebody who's got balls to do that. So very, very impressive. Now, we've been on here for quite a while, and it's got to come up now. Main event match. Who thought that was going to happen exactly like that?
Devon.
Yeah.
I don't think he did, you know, Jim.
Well, that was his plan from the outset, and he thought he was gonna win. He wasn't sure, but he did think he did think he should win.
Oh yeah,
that is how he
was going to win. The manner in which he won.
I didn't think he was going to get it in. Don't think he was convinced he was going to get it in round one like that.
I don't think he thought it was going to be that easy.
No. Well, he didn't. He said he didn't. But yeah.
When the way he hit on that first go outside of the straps, he hit and he had him. He had him here, and he was pushing him here, and he was completely on top of his hand. I knew it right then. I was like, all right, that's it. That's a wrap. If he can,
everybody was thinking previously that Devon was going to rely on pronation. That was going to be his weapon.
Not
at all. It was coming forward. He was shutting down Denis's pronator, controlling his pronator with his cup and his rise. And then he went to work. Everything he said strategically, this is what I'm going to do to those of us that he was speaking to about that, where he said, this one I'm going to do, I'm putting bullet holes in him. He did exactly that. Exactly. And it went like perfect. I mean, if you were Jody Larratt watching that, you'd been like, yeah, it's exactly what we talked about walking outside last night. It's exactly going to plan. I bet Odin and Milo were at home going, oh my God, this is perfect. I mean, it's exactly what we strategized. It's amazing when that works like that. But all the talk, and even the most confident of the guys in Devon's ability, did anybody see it going that easy?
Well, you just mentioned Jody there, and Jody admitted afterwards that beforehand, normally she is confident that he's going to do it. This was the first one. Even with Levant, she kind of thought, he can do this. With this one, she wasn't. She wasn't.
Yeah, I disagree with that, James, because she told me the night before The night before, I walked down to the front, and she said to me, "I don't know why, but I feel like this one's written. I feel like this is like it's." She talked about the date and the significance to Devon, and so, and she said, "I feel like almost like it's done, like he can't lose."
Yeah.
She said, and I hope I'm not sort of punished for that, or
Well,
but I
yeah,
don't think he can lose. I feel like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
but I'm repeating what she said and what we filmed and what we put out on a video to our channel members last night. She said those words exactly. That yeah, she was not. She didn't tell him, so she wouldn't have told you the night before either.
She told me exactly what I've just told you there the night before. We were walking down, and she said,
"Yeah,
I feel like he can't lose. He's going to win."
Well, the night after, she said she felt like, this is a scary one.
I need to watch that video myself, mind you. But yeah, yeah, it's
I'm gonna have to shoot anyway, guys. I've got an important call I need to take. Really sorry.
Cheers,
right, ciao.
Yeah, I didn't see that exactly like that in my head. I saw it more drawn out, ugly death war that would then go orthodox.
Yeah, I fell victim to a little bit of the hype train, and paying attention to how back and forth and stuff went, and falling down that rabbit hole of the mind games, the mindset, because I think that those intangibles are really important in any type of competition. And I felt like there was a weird swing, and that Devon was, or like that at points Devon looked a little bit flustered in the buildup, and Denis appeared to be cool. And I was like, oh, my head. And I think that's why the polls were shifting, and me acting like a newbie. I was like, oh, like my gut was saying early on that Devon was going to win it. And then I kind of fell victim to that hype train, and could have been more wrong. And it's interesting that Jody would have said that, because I think that there are undeniable moments like that in competition and sports in general, where sometimes things just line up. And I've been a part of these things in other competitions where, you come out of the locker room and we can't lose. We can't. Things just lined up and we can't lose. And it's surprisingly, you don't get that feeling all the time. But when you get it, when you have it and it's real, like, it usually comes to fruition. So I think there's so much to that weird, like, the psychology of competition. Huge, that when that's there, like, everything is just lining up, and then you just see all the stars aligned, and you see, like you said, that perfect execution of the game plan. And like, I think, like, I caught a little flack on my review, people saying, like, I said the match wasn't a walk in the park, and people were like, yeah, it was. What are you talking about? He flashed them and blah blah blah, and then he's total control. I think it was way more one-sided than I expected. But I don't think, like, Devon had to work to get those pins, and he had to execute completely, and he did, So really, it's just kudos and hats off to him. I mean, I tell you, I'm biased because I'm on the West and everything, but like, seeing that is like the capstone, like, especially when you see John lose. We didn't talk a whole lot about that, but when you see John lose, that does something to all of us in the West. And then, then here comes the spear,
It's see, the thing with, I mean, we'll stick with the Devon one for a minute, but I do want to touch on John. For me, in my mind, I saw the match being far more sticky, and both guys absolutely red line going out on the shield. And I think that Denis, number one, respect to Denis for his brutal honesty in the post-match interviews, when he said Devon won too many battles mentally before this thing started.
Yeah, he had me fooled.
Mate, at that frigging press conference,
yeah,
he looked to me unshaken beyond belief. I mean, he didn't take his eyes off Devon. He met him right there. I was sure that he was there and he would go out on his shield. And when he said afterwards, yeah, I'd already lost in my head a little bit on reflection, I thought it was remarkably honest of the guy to say that. Number one, because it is in some respects, an embarrassing thing there. And he was very open about it. And it really endeared me to him in that respect. And also the fact that the pressure, nobody is immune to the pressure. It's just, are the circumstances going to create that pressure? Is that weird blend there that creates that toxic pressure that you create within yourself? We've heard Lavon Saganashvili the other day say, I'm the pressure on me. I create the pressure. If my mind is there, I can't lose. And it was, we went out to the grill on the Friday, as we do, Paul, when you're over there. Paul obviously knows because he's been there many times. You go over, we're just sat around, and I spoke to Dev there, and I said, what do you think? And he said, yeah, I think it's going to be really, really hard. But I'm going to be honest with you, Neil. He said, I think I'm going to take some beating because I think the stars are aligning against Denis in some respects. He said, because the date, I mean, if you're going to beat me today, tomorrow, you know, that's big difference. Today, you might beat me. Tomorrow, that day,
it's Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson.
Yeah. He just said my whole mental psyche, attitude, approach to the match is absolutely reinforced. It's steel plated. And I think for him to beat me tomorrow, it's like one of those, you know, you'll have to kill me to beat your statements. But there was something in his eyes and in his understated confidence that made you think, lad's not joking. He's come to do this thing, you know?
Well, and I was at Devon's house, you know, a month before the match. He gave me that same vibe a month before. He was laser focused. It wasn't like he came upon it towards the end. I think as soon as he knew the match was on, his brain went into that mode. And I was like I was almost a little bit afraid sometimes when I was at his house and I was seeing the lifts he was doing and the amount of pressure that was happening in his body, in his joints, and like the dedication to beat the number, to go above the number, go whatever it was. Scary level of dedication.
Even to the point where when he tore the intercostal, and I rang him, you know, we spoke about that. I gave him a quick call, and I said, what, you concerned? And he said, no, you know what? I think I'll be fine. I think it's something I can work through. I can work around. And I think there's more to it. The comment that he made was, I think there's more factors at play than that. And he just seemed to be in a very, very strange headspace. And something happened the night before, right? Dev was going for a walk every night, just getting his head in play. And I've been with the night before. I was walking Geordie down to see him on the night before. But we'd been to the press conference. He'd been upstairs to take some time out. And the reason he'd been to take some time out was at the presser. You know, when they got up at the end, through the actual presser itself, it wasn't that bad. And he always has that little bit of a shake going on and so on. Little bit, and he's adrenaline, and you can see it in his eyes and all of that because he does matter and he's pushing. But when they stood up to go up to meet in the center, and Denis was very present and really looking at him, I walked over. Engin's there smiling his ass off, and I woke up and I came around the side. I was just walking back to close the show. So as I walked back to close the show, I just happened to look over Dev's shoulder, and I catch eyes I glanced right into the eyes of Denis, and Denis was literally lasering into Dev. He was not a backward step in the lad, which, as you were saying, Paul, it sold me into, he's really good. He's not backing off. He's right there. And Devon's talking to him. And then I look at Devon, and the man's entire body was tremoring. And it wasn't a tremoring of fear. It was literally like he was fighting to hold himself back.
Yeah, that's a familiar feeling. I usually, like, the times that I've experienced that, something bad happens right after. And that's why I don't seek out those pressure. Like, I don't like those types of situations because
so we came out, Paul. And I think
Yeah.
he's feeling the same thing, mate.
You gotta go reset.
Oh yeah, mate. We came out and I said to him, "What are you going to do? Going to get something to eat or something?" Because we planned to go grab some meat, right? And he said, "Mate, I'm just going to go upstairs for a minute because I'm not kidding, Neil." He said something can happen. Then he said I had this massive adrenaline rush and I was like ready to go. Like he's like,
in there. That's why I stay away from it.
And, you know, it was like, let's go right now. And yeah, he left Geordie downstairs with us. He went up, just chill for a bit because he was very ready.
Yeah. Certain situations when emotion is tied to things, you know, or, you know, certain like primal instincts are triggered. And we flirt with this stuff. We definitely do, like in these pressure situations. And it's so tricky. And there, you know, once those things hit, and you know,
air trigger
you
stuff.
Don't know a person, you don't know a person until that lights go off, everything turns black, and you're like, oh, what happened?
On so many levels, mate. I mean, John's experience at the bloody. Well, I remember John when he came over to the reality check, right? And you might listen. People who are in the chat or people who are watching this and they're not in there and they're not pulling that situation and they're not invested to that level may think that there is a degree of acting, there is a degree of match build-up, and sure there is. You go down this path and you start to build the match and you start to do all this backstory, but sometimes on some Saturdays you wake up there and you find yourself more invested than you thought. And that day when I walked over to you, John, at reality check, and you were fucking, I don't know where you were, but you weren't there.
Gone.
There was some massive adrenaline dump just.
Yeah, I know it.
In. Yeah. Gums and lips were white, like full on color had gone. Oh, his gums and lips, and I'm not kidding. This happened. We probably have the raw of this, right? Because we're mic'd up. And I walked over to John mid-match. And I said to him, mate, are you all right? And he wasn't there. And I said, you're having some kind of a massive adrenaline dump. Yeah. And he looked through me. Yeah. Like, I wasn't there. Can you even remember that, John?
I remember it being very, like, I was in a tunnel. Big tunnel, right? And, like, I could hear you calling me from the end of the tunnel. And I was just like, Neil, I'm trying to do something here, Neil. And you're like telling me the important information. And I'm just like, no, we're in it. We're in it now. I'm too far gone. I'm too far gone.
You're like vibed out somewhere. You'd like gone. Yeah. I just saw him. What you did? You just walked over to the corner. I thought,
sometimes when you're there, you can't miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, as any athlete, you are lucky if you push yourself to be there at some point, so you can know it, because now it's because that has happened to me since.
But I was in the bloody Iron House,
right, and I was able to at least, you know, at least keep it from, you know, completely taken off with everything. So I think the more you experience it, the better you become in handling it, and not only that. You gotta start handling it before it gets too bad, right? It's not something like, oh, I'm having an adrenaline dump, I better do something. No, you have to notice the signs way before and then start doing stuff.
And really did, and I know that Dev felt it, and he was like, "Shit."
Yeah.
And when Jord came back down to the back, I actually thought, "Oh my God!" I've said so many times, right? These moments, the big matches, there's the story behind the story behind the story, you know what I mean? And everybody thinks that, oh, this is the form guide and that's how it's going to go. And oftentimes you'll see some weird sporting upset, and what actually creates it is the nuance that you don't know, the little thing. We're all just people. We're all these guys are all just men or women or anything, and you're there and you don't know the story behind the story. That something happened, something that wasn't documented, something that, you know, you just had a bad stomach that night, or something happened that was, boom, out of left field, and it changed the whole dynamic. And I'll tell you what, that was one of those moments where I saw, and Devon said, mate, he scared himself. Yeah, and he buggered off. When Jodie came downstairs, she was like, yeah. I said, is he all right? He said, yeah, he had some kind of weird moment there. And then a few hours go by, phone call from Dev to Jodie, and she's like, oh, he's gone out walking on the, he's there. And I said, oh, I'll walk you down. So I just walked down with Jodie to the front, left Jodie with Dev. But when we got there, that couple of like 20 seconds or whatever we were down there, I wasn't concerned anymore because he clearly had reset. He was calm again, and he's got that quiet drawl about him when he's chilled, and he was there again. I thought, he's reined it in, because there was a moment there where I thought if he goes upstairs and he stays at boiling point, and how do you come down and sleep from that?
Yep, not gonna happen. No, guys, I gotta head out. Pleasure as always.
John, thank you, brother.
See you, boys.
Catch you very soon.
Yeah, that's the interesting part about that too. When you talk about like preparation for competition and timing things up, like you don't want to hit that crescendo too early.
No.
Like you talk about the day before, like no, you need that like 5 seconds before to go, or you need that like 5 minutes before to go. However you prepare, like you can't kind of shoot that load too early because you might need it. You know what I mean? And if you get stuck in it, like I think the psychology behind competition sports is incredibly interesting, and when I thinking about this match and watching some of the build up, Devon did that video where he was taking things and burning them in the fire. Did you see that?
I did, mate.
He, like mementos and like this.
I did. Letting go of stuff. Yes, I did.
When you do stuff like that, when you're that committed, your whole existence is arm wrestling. The rest of us we have other stuff. You know what I mean? We're making money elsewhere. We're doing different things. We're talking about two human beings whose entire identity is revolved around arm wrestling only.
Yeah.
And you put that much energy and emotion into it, it's special. And I when to mention, you remember the presentation of Belt to Todd Hutchings?
Yes.
You were up there, right? Interviewing him. You know the tall gentleman who helped present him the belt.
Yeah. Oh, Josh, I think his name.
Yeah, Jared Audrick.
NFL.
Jared Audrick. Yeah, he reached out to me.
Great.
He reached out to me on Instagram, and he has like a very ambiguous I just figured it was a random message. He wrote me a long paragraph, said he's fell in love with arm wrestling. He's found Devon LARRATT, like obsessed with his competitive mind state, and to the point where he wanted to go see the event. And I at this point I'm like, wait, you want to go? Like he's asking, he's like, where do I get a ticket? I'm like, no, you just go. Like if you want to go, he's like, cool, I'll hop a plane. He hops a plane. I text Devon, said he's coming. But to me, what's so interesting about that is we have somebody who is, an all-pro defensive man.
Clearly an athlete as well. I mean, he introduced himself as we were going over to the grill on the Friday.
Yeah.
He was outside, him and his lady, and he was there. He spoke to Dev. Dev came over, introduced him to me. We were chatting for a minute, and he said he was based near you. We told him actually to get hold of you. And what a lovely, straight, down-to-earth bloke. And the fact that guys like that are crossing over and showing that interest.
What I'm saying is whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you love or don't or dislike Devon is pure energy. Whether you align with it or you don't, it is reaching different areas of the world. And this guy is putting energy and emotion out there that is being received across, crossing barriers,
Definitely, mate.
Like when you talk about the discussion comes up about greatest of all time. And obviously John is etched in that, but Devon is like something different almost. Like he, with the promotions that are going on in hand, are ushering in an era of arm wrestling, notoriety and mainstream publicity that is unlike any other. Like when, the aura
surrounding the guy. He's it's funny because John Milne, I've just seen there in the chat. John, evening, brother. Hope you and the family are well. John, super close to the LARRATT family. And John used to come over with Dev. He'd come over when they were doing Arm Wars, and you could see that he was obviously he's a very close friend to Devon, but he was very invested and recognizing of the fact of whom Devon LARRATT is.
Yeah.
Devon LARRATT is an extraordinarily unique individual for so many reasons. There's a reason why people are drawn to him, and there's a reason why he's got the aura. If you just break down a few of the simple facts about this guy, and these aren't claims, they are facts. You got a 6'5" super athlete, special forces soldier, who would arm wrestle the devil in straps. He couldn't give a shit. His whole ethos, his whole environment is he likes seeking out the risk. Yeah. He likes to fight, to put himself into extraordinarily difficult, weird, chaotic situations. In fact, because of his past, he almost thirsts for that. He's needed that. He's hungry for that. It's so alien to most of us, and yet he's so open, endearing, accessible. How can he not be drawn in? And
well,
people are drawn in.
I think it can be misunderstood at times. Sometimes the way he approaches the combat aspect and the mind games and the things like that, you know, the perception can be skewed based off of what he's presenting per match or whatever.
Yeah.
But the reality of the guy is, whenever anybody gives that much of themselves to something specific, you know, that is outside their family or their personal fortune, you know what I mean? And especially something as niche oriented as arm wrestling. Like, to me, that's an incredibly selfless thing to do. Like, people will look at it and say, oh, he's selfish, he wants attention. But I don't think that's the motivation. I think he's selfless. I think he has probably sacrificed way more for this sport that he'll ever gain. And that, to me, is the definition of being selfless. And like, whether you like him or you don't, you got to be thankful for what's going on. And everything comes at a price. I've said it, I wouldn't trade my life with Devon's for the world. I wouldn't be built.
I mean, you're aware of it, Paul, from what he's told you and what he's told us and what Geordie's shared. And some of the stuff that happens and that he has to put up with and so on is, I mean, it's sickening, really.
Yep.
And like you say, the fact that he is misunderstood and so on, but nevertheless, it's his real existence. But he gets, you know, hammered for it. There's always a degree of that. Whenever you put yourself out there on social media, it comes with the territory. Eddie Hall, who's another close friend of mine, I can't. You'd have to be there. Some of the stuff that Eddie's gone through, it is ridiculous. Yep. It's ridiculous. Some of that guys come onto his property and be outside his property at the back, asking him for fights. Weird stuff that he's talking. I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, deadly serious, you know? All kinds of stuff that goes with the territory. But yeah, it takes to step into the role of the heel that he did for this one. With the gravity with which he did that, you know, it's not everybody can do that. Not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah,
he's one of a cast of characters. You're another. He's one of a cast of characters in the sport right now who make for this fascinating blend, you know, of like, I mean, you've got contradictions like Levan, who looks like he's something out of a frigging grim fairy tale. Looks like the mother crawl down a beanstalk and ready to kidnap your wife, and you meet him, and he's like the most lovely big teddy bear dude ever. There's nothing about that guy threatening, thank God, but you know what I mean. He's just a great bloke.
The characters are definitely what is helping, but Devon's the catalyst, and I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, like you talk about his transition from, like, you know, what he presented in like the early WAL, like, you know, the Soldier Boy Superman, like the Clark Kent look and everything, and his willingness, like you said, to become the heel. Like, this guy is willing to do what the rest of us won't to advance the sport. What's needed, what shoes need filled, what role needs played, what character needs portrayed, what's going to get this match a win, what's going to promote this match. Some of us either don't have the ability or won't do that, you know. So to me, somebody who's willing to do that is a selfless act,
and he's also got an innate confidence to do it, Paul, because his reality is that, you know, like I said the other day, the Superboy, the Soldier Boy from the frozen north of Canada, this guy is the real deal, and he really is. It's like Evander Holyfield, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
This guy, it's not an act. He'll do it. If you call him out on it, he'll meet you.
I don't like there's times in match lead up and stuff where I don't agree with what Devon's doing, you know, or like I don't like, or just whatever. I don't adhere to that in that moment.
You mean the sort of aggressive attack thing?
Whatever. It depends. Like every match is a little bit different, and you know, there were certain times where I didn't like certain things or whatever, but there was never a time where I didn't respect or appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate it whether I like it or not. You know what I mean?
Well, it's weird, isn't it? In a weird way, it's like you say, it's polarizing.
Yep.
But it's also magnetizing. It's magnetic. You're drawn in. It's like whether it resonates on some level, whether it's you love it, you hate it, you're not indifferent, are you? You know, it makes you. Oh, where did that twinge? You know, if you're the guy that backs Randy Couture, it's going to hit you one way. If you're the guy that's more of a Conor McGregor guy, you know, my God, you can't.
Yeah, I'm a Randy Couture guy, you know, like at the end of the day, I'm always kind of that guy, you know. So,
which is John's that guy, isn't he? John's that guy.
But that's the thing. John, you know, he still garners notoriety and everything, and like people like he's amazing to have on the card. He sells pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But what Devon does above and beyond that is so much more. Like John is the GOAT, but Devon is like a different category. You know what I mean? So like
very unique, remarkably, probably
what he's doing
can't really emulate it. Who the hell can emulate that?
Yeah, and yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's going to be far and few between where we have somebody like that.
Yeah, that's a very. We spoke about that this weekend, mate. I couldn't agree more. It's kind of like, yeah, please, nothing happened to that dude.
Yeah, stay healthy,
because there's only what you know. Let's get him cloned.
Probably already done it. Vitacell got 3 of them back in the home office.
They might do. Listen, we got a couple of super chats here, and one of them's coming for you, mate. He's got. So Neil and Paul, what's your thoughts on Devon versus Vitaly Laletin, given it's a long lever matchup? Do you want to go first or second?
I think Devon wins.
I've got Devon too.
Yeah, if you want details, we can get into it, but I think Devon wins. I think it's because I think a lot of it has to do with Vitaly's style and where Devon's riser is.
Yeah, knuckles up versus pistol versus low hand. And also, for me, the other big difference is if you look at the recent matchups when we've seen Vitaly go to the dark side and become stronger, bigger, more powerful, trying to stack some onto that massive frame, is that it is taking a toll from an endurance perspective, which is significant. He got into one screamer of a lower magnitude than we saw Devon in round 1 of his match at weekend. And it taxed him to the point where he was on his chair blowing. And that's a problem in a match with Devon, who would be able to put the brakes on him in various areas. Stylistically, Laletin is a very different prospect and a difficult ask in many ways. But I do think that Devon's hard pronation and ability to that man's because you've physically done what I've done and pulled the guy. He's something else at the moment, isn't he?
It's not normal. And to do it at the lighter weight and everything, like I get the whole like, oh, he's 290 against Michael or whatever. Now he's like 255. Like he's just healthy now. He's healthier. Like, and you can't put a price tag on that.
Mate, at weekend he looked the best I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
From a general health perspective, he looked phenomenal. Skin was clear. He just looked. Yeah. I mean, he said it's because of the combination of factors. Obviously, the Vitacell Biologics repairing the damage that was there, but also the God shot that he had, and the fact that he can now, lip off stuff, and the fact that he can now sleep. I mean, can you imagine he'd been all that time without sleeping? I mean,
buddy, I talked to Jody about that before they went and did it when we were in Florida, and I'm incredibly intrigued with it because I don't sleep either, really,
mate.
For factions.
I think you should from what I heard there, you should definitely get into that then, because I brought that information home. My wife and I are talking about it because I suffer from some of the same things. For sure. It's a very interesting concept. I actually would like to read the book before I
take the step though. I haven't read the book yet.
I can imagine, mate. It's something like you say. It's not a step you take lightly, is it? Not a step you take lightly. So Devon's classic finger came in with a super chat there. He's put, need to go to sleep. See you all. Just wanted to say good night. And James cough. Nice. He already has done, mate, on that one. So you got what you want there. Paul sent me here. He said, sorry, from the USS Liberty Never. Thanks for your super chat, brother. And Dan Plexman. How you doing, Dan? Just come in. He's put, taking Devon's seminar this summer gave me a new respect and admiration for Devon. He pulled 50 of us for 5 hours.
Yeah.
As you do, non-stop, without
Dan,
stopping
standard.
for a piss. True.
That's standard.
Absolute quality. And we got Jace Larson come in with a super chat. He's put, just wanting to say thank you for answering. And I appreciate this light you guys have shed on Devon and the perspective of it. Devon is the only reason I'm a fan of this. So it's easier to respect his mindset due to what he's done. Well, thank you, mate, because there's evidence of exactly what Paul was just saying there. And yeah. And Han Solo say there, Neil is the biggest fan. Mate, I am a massive fan of Devon Larratt. And I'll tell you why I'm a massive fan of Devon Larratt, because I really know Devon Larratt. And I am a massive fan of Devon Larratt. He's my friend. And he's a good lad. And he's a very unique individual. And he's a good bloke. It's as simple as that. I've got a massive amount of time for the lad. Like so many people in this sport, when you do get to know these guys, and it's not when the camera's on, it's when the camera's off, when there was no cameras for 20 years before the cameras even gave a shit. That's when I found out about Devon. Yeah. And he's always been spot on with me. He's a good lad. He's my friend. I'm proud to count him among my closest friends in that respect. He's a bloody good guy. And there's a lot of them in here. John's another, and you know, the man that's on the screen with me right now is another one. You meet these guys and you spend time with them and you learn about them, and yeah, that's what really counts. Simple as that. Listen, Paul, I need to let you get off of here, mate, and get on with your life. But I want to say thank you very much for it's good to see you again, mate. It's always the show benefits from when you're on it. Your insights spot on as always, mate, and thank you very much for coming on. Really, really good to see you on here again.
My pleasure. We'll see you. Are we going back on Sunday, normal Sunday time?
Absolutely, we're back on Sunday this week. I'll be knackered because I've got the world's ultimate challenge on Giants Live on Saturday night. So it's Team Challenge, World's Strongest Nation, on Saturday night at Liverpool Arena. So I'll be absolutely knackered from that. I want to say a massive thanks to everybody for checking out tonight. I know we've had a lot of comments for Paul because he's spot on, and really, really interesting insight. Thank you to John also for coming on. Remember, I say it every time, but if you're not subscribed and supporting Paul Lynn, John Thompson, please take time out right now just to get over there and give these guys some support. Thanks also to James Statham for dropping on tonight. James is, for those of you who don't know, he's the other half of Arm Wars, the guy that puts all the films together. Magnificently talented individual, does a great job for us, and I'm very indebted to him in that respect. I can see that there's been 5. I said that before I looked. 529 people watching.
Nice.
Now,
that's
ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Just I think that actually shocked me. Didn't think it was anything like that. Thought it was more like 2.5.
They heard you stop eating bread. They had to see if it was true.
Literally looked at it. I thought it was about 2,500. I looked at it. It said 518. I'm like, what the flub is going on there? 296 likes. If you could give us a like before you go, please sub to the channel if you're not already subbed. And also, if you could get over and sub to Arm Wars, that'd be ace as well. Loads of stuff going on there. We've put out and are putting out for our channel members a ton of stuff from behind the scenes in Florida, from behind the scenes with Devon. But before I go, big announcement, guys, and I'm going to go out with it right now on this one. 2024, right, is a big year for us because it is 25 years since the first televised Arm Wars event.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know. Yeah, we all looked at it the other day. The 1999 was the first time we got it out there. 25 years, long time.
Man, I graduated high school.
Yeah.
2000.
It's also the year I'll turn 50, 2024. So I want to do something a little different and try and recreate some stuff. So you've probably got a little bit of an inkling of this that's been coming because we've tied in and weaved in other elements.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to create something which was one of our most iconic ever events,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the Gathering
Mm-hmm.
in Las Vegas, USA,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2010. So early January 2024, Arm Wars is going back to Vegas, and we're going to recreate the Gathering at the top of the MGM Grand.
I already put those puzzle pieces together.
Devon LARRATT's going to be the headline match. He will face Corey West on the left arm.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And there may also be another 2 guys in that, and we may make it a battleground. And if that comes off, my God. Plus, we've got other matches on there. At the event, we've got the likes of John Brzenk. Can't comment on some of this stuff, but it's been pieced together pretty hard. Ron Bath will be there. Many, many guys are going to be at this event. Jerry Caderet is at that show also. We're back in Vegas, guys. 2024 MGM Grand Rooftop. It's on.
Amazing.
Booked and ready to go. So for our channel members, as usual, you will get to see it. All our channel members will see the Dark Card Gathering 2 from Vegas. You never know. Maybe Paul Lynn will be in Vegas that week as well. God knows, anything can happen. Craig 2 years going to be there.
I might already have a flight booked. I don't know yet.
I thought you might, mate. I thought you might. So, yeah, listen, if you want to see that, as I say, channel members are going to see it. We got a lot of stuff coming for our channel members. We'll keep pushing things on. John Milne saying MGM Grand. I might just show up. Mate, I'd love to see you there. I would love to see you there. John was on the rooftop, gave one of the best matches that day. Yeah.
The word on the street in Canada is John Milne is back and really back. That's
good stuff. That's fantastic. Love me some John Milne. He's a top bloke. So, yeah, just thought I'd let everybody know that we're going back to the Vegas skyline. Jan 2024, Arm Wars The Gathering 2. We're back. Listen, guys, we will be back here on Sunday night. Hopefully the White Oak can get on here with us. Get over and sub to this guy. Show him some support. He's one of the best in the game. And he will pull in January against Irakli Zirakashvili. East versus West 11. Coming January 20th. Yeah. Huge amount of eyeballs going to be on that match. And I know that's going to be a very, very eagerly anticipated matchup. And Paul, we'll speak more about that on Sunday, mate.
Yes, sir. Nose to the grindstone.
Top draw. Thanks for tuning in and checking it out, everybody. All the very best to you and your families. Oh, just as I was signing off there, how about Spectator Hemorrhoids Asperini? Hemorrhoids Asperini. How about Spectators? Going to be a dark card, mate, but we will have some spectators in there. But big event going on that week. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, checking out tonight's show. As I say, if you can give us a like before you leave, if you can give us a sub before you leave, that's awesome. And all the best to you and your families. We will see you on Sunday night. Biggity bong, mother fluffers.
Biggity bong.